Zawiyat Sultan is the name of this Muslim cemetery behind me in El Minya Governorate. It lies 10 kilometers south to El Minya. It comprises thousands of Muslim cemeteries and is still used till today. It's adjacent to the pyramid of King Huni from the 3rd dynasty in El Kom El Ahmar village. 10 kilometers southeast El Minya city, and after crossing the new bridge that connects the east and the west banks, you'll find one of the interesting monumental sites in El Minya Governorate. It's the area of Zawiyat al-Mayitin, or the corner of the dead. It was known in the ancient times as Hebnu and was the capital of the 6th district in ancient Egypt, known as El Wal or the Ibex. This area was known and thrived since the Old Kingdom era, as the base of a pyramid was found in it, and since it was a burial place for the ancestors, the people living here kept using it as a cemetery throughout the ages. So a tomb that belongs to a nobleman called Huni, who lived 3000 years BC, was found, in addition to a tomb that belonged to the New Kingdom era, when a man called Nefersekheru was buried here. In relatively modern times, the area continued to be used as a cemetery, but this time for the Muslims. That's why several mosques were built for the service rituals and are now considered monumental as well. Zawiyat al-Mayitin covers a vast area that reaches 250,000 acres of land, and it keeps expanding after becoming the main cemetery for the Muslims who live in this part of El Minya Governorate. The tombs here have a distinctive style of architecture that distinguishes them from the rest of the Muslim tombs in Egypt. An ordinary Muslim tomb will be composed of chambers under the ground and nothing above, except for a wall that marks the boundaries of each tomb. Each family owns one tomb, and its members are buried in it. In these chambers, women are separated from men. Here in Zawiyat al-Mayitin, there is a construction above each tomb. It's a small chamber or substructure with a dome. This chamber provides a shady place for members of the family when they come to visit the deceased. So now they form a unique and attractive architecture that became a characteristic for the town. The visits of the women to this arid place is well taken care of, as they've got a special sitting place in the shade called Galsa. A Galsa means a sit. It's composed of a sofa built of bricks and covered with cement or plaster. That's basically an ancient Egyptian tradition that's to be found in all the ancient Egyptian tombs. starting from the Pyramids era and all the way through the Greek-Roman tombs until today. For example, the catacomb in Alexandria city is a Greek burial place for many generations, and we can see how the Greeks copied the Egyptian pattern in dedicating special resting place with stone sofa for the members of the deceased family, so that the duration of their visit can go on as long as they like, and they can spend the time they need contemplating, remembering, and praying for the dead. El Qubba, or the dome, acts as a shady place for the visitors to protect them from the harsh sun during their several hours of the visit, or even sleep under it if they decided to spend several days in the season's holidays. Each family owns a court called El Hawsh that's sometimes bounded by walls. Apart from that, each family is aware of its land territory. That court has what's called manamat, or sleeping quarters, that could reach 40 in number, according to the size of the land. The tradition of visiting the tombs of the dead in the feasts and holidays and bringing over food and drinks is a tradition that had started in the ancient Egyptian period. These offerings were brought regularly to the tombs and were presented to the priests who looked after the tombs. The food and the beer and the wine were placed over a table in the tomb, and that was called the offering table. The double or the ka of the deceased was supposed to nourish upon the food and the drinks, and was content to feel the love and the care of its family. In case the members of the family stopped coming for the visit, the offerings are sometimes carved on the tables with magic sentences written all around it that were able to give power to the drawn offerings to turn into real. The liquids have their own running courses carved in the table, so that they can fall fluently out of the table and be of benefit to the double. The Egyptians today, especially the Muslims, still visit the cemetery on holidays and weekends and bring over food in the form of biscuits and baked cookies and dates and vegetable and fruit and whatever the person can afford. Then the bag would be distributed on all the poor families that live nearby the tombs and look after the cemetery. The second important burial place in El Minya Governorate is called El Bahnasa in Beni Mazar Center, that lies 60 kilometers north to the city of El Minya and 15 kilometers northwest of the city of Beni Mazar. It is said that its name is an abbreviation of the name Baha al-Nisa, who was the daughter of the ruler of the city when the Arabs advanced to El Minya. El Bahnasa was built upon the ruins of the ancient city called Permuza, which the Greeks called Oxyrhynchos. The city is considered one of the most important monumental places in Egypt, for it gathers the history of Egypt with its different stages, starting from the Pharaonic ages until the Islamic era, passing by the Greek-Roman period and the Christian era. Its massive importance goes also to the enormous amount of papyrus found in it. Two great tombs that belong to the late Pharaonic period, the 26th dynasty, were found. El-Baqiya is the name of the monumental cemetery of El-Bahnasa in Al-Minya Governorate. 20 kilometers is the distance between this town and Beni Mazar center. When the Arabs conquered Egypt in 641 AD, led by the Muslim leader Amr ibn al-As, they marched into Upper Egypt to end the Roman occupation. A knight and a prince called Ziyad ibn al-Harith held the flag of war, for he was known to be a strong and courageous man, and a cunning and fearful warrior. He was killed and died as a martyr, and thus buried here in this holy area where all the martyrs are buried. The mausoleum was built above the grave in 1583 AD. This is recorded on the southern eastern wall in a line that's written in the special Kufian Islamic handwriting. The line says, "This is the shrine tomb of the one who fights for the sake of God, the warrior, son of the warrior, the cousin of Prophet Muhammad. God praise his soul, the Prince Ziyad al-Fadl, son of al-Harith, son of Abd al-Muttalib, the Hashimian. May God have mercy on him." This is what the poor prayer had constructed at the date of the Islamic month Ragab in the year 992 of the Islamic calendar. That was a constructional memorial line of the tomb of Prince Ziyad ibn al-Harith, who set a great example of courage in that fearful war against Romans and helped in ending once and for all their 600 years of occupation of Egypt. His name is immortalized forever here in the city of the martyrs in Al-Minya, which became one of the prominent Islamic monumental areas in Egypt. When the famous Muslim Sheikh Abdul Halim Mahmud descended into El-Bahnasa, he took off his shoes, and when he was asked why he did it, he answered, "How couldn't I, on a land which was stepped over by the feet of Prophet Muhammad's companions and the martyrs and the followers?" Then he called it the second Baqiya. The first one is in Saudi Arabia in Al-Madinah, where the rest of the companions and followers were buried. The tomb of Affan, son of Osman, son of Aban, son of Affan, son of Aban, is here in Al-Bahnasa. He is the son of the grandson of Ottoman bin Affan, one of the caliphs of Prophet Muhammad, and the one who gathered the verses of Quran and put it in one book called ever since the Mus'haf, or the Book of Ottoman. It is said that when Aban came here, he brought along a copy of the Holy Quran and 260 dinars of gold, and one maid and 2 servants, and 600 camels. The Muslim burials take place under the ground, directly on the sand, with the body wrapped in linen cloth. The building above the ground is to mark the burial ground of each person or the family property. It's a shady place where visitors can come and stay during their visit to pray for the deceased and ask God for his blessings. In that out-of-town ancient area, there is a monumental mosque of Ali Zain al-Abidin, son of Al-Hasan, son of Abdul Hayy. The remaining part is a me'zana, or the tower, dedicated for calling for prayers 5 times a day. Abdul Hayy was born in 1674 and died in 1772. He consecrated his life to the service of Islam as a scholar and as a great jurist. The tower is built according to the Mamlukian style and is known by Mi'zanat Abu Samra. El-Bahnasa was a region that started from El-Wasti in Bani Suef and until Samalot in El-Minya, but its area was reduced due to the delimitation of Middle Egypt's borders. But it still keeps its remarkable position on Egypt's monumental Islamic map. The city of the martyrs in Al-Minya comprises the most dignified Islamic tombs in Egypt. For here, many of Prophet Muhammad's companions fought and died as martyrs, and were buried later. One of these mighty characters is Muhammad ibn Uqba. In his tomb, there is a stele made of stone, on which there is a list of the names of the Prophet's companions who died in Al-Bahnasa and were buried in this tomb as well. They are called Al-Badriyin, which means that they've all participated in the Battle of Badr with Prophet Muhammad in Saudi Arabia. It was his first battle against the non-believers and was victorious. One of the companions buried here is Al-Qa'qa' ibn Amr. He was strong and courageous and famous by his voice, which matched 1,000 men. There are also the coffins of Abada ibn al-Samit and Maysara ibn Masruq, the Abbasi, and Zulqila al-Humayri, and Malik al-Ashtar al-Rubai, and Uqba ibn Amir al-Jarhani. One of the interesting tombs is that of a warrior woman. She is Khawla bint al-Azwar, the veiled knight. History says that her brother Dira ibn al-Azwar and some women were captured in the war with the Romans who guarded the fortress of Al-Bahnasa. So she was dressed as a man and disguised her face with a veil and fought the guards of the prison and freed all the captives, and thus a special tomb was made for her. It was made in the Fatimid period and was restored in the Mamlukian period. The restoration date is recorded on the tombstone erected in front of her shrine, dating back to year 733 of the Islamic calendar. Those who fight for the right deserve to have their names written in letters of light. Al-Bahnasa had witnessed glorious chapters of the history of the Islamic advent of Egypt, for it was called the City of the Martyrs, for the big number of Arab martyrs who died during the opening of Egypt. Just like Zawiyat Sultan, it has got thousands of Islamic tombs that has got different styles, with few domes here and there. The cemetery has been used for 1,400 years and is still used till today. Together with Zawiyat Sultan, they form the grandest cemeteries of Al-Minya, especially Al Zawiya, which runs for 4 kilometers along the Nile.